Oh boy. Okay, well, for the last time, we have a Sony Spider-Man villain movie thing in Kraven the Hunter is out now. I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't know it. Nobody went and saw this. Not a lot of people knew that it exists and that it's out in theaters right now. It's not good. It is not good. It is almost refreshing in a way that movies like Kraven the Hunter exist in kind of their own little world where they have just been, and by they I mean like the Sony creatives, I guess, they have just been so like ignoring the past 25 years of superhero movies. Like they've learned no lessons from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the good lessons. They haven't learned anything from like the DC movies that have flopped, or even things like Shazam or Wonder Woman that were a little more successful. They just kind of live in their own world of mediocrity, like they are from 2002, like they are the Green Lantern, or like they are Daredevil or Elektra. Like just no lessons learned, totally blind, and just have tunnel vision as to what's going on. I almost respect kind of what has happened between this, Madam Web, and Morbius in terms of just like weird, awful movies. Like at least the Venom trilogy somehow worked. And by worked, I mean they cast Tom Hardy, and Tom Hardy is just a blast. But specifically this movie, specifically Kraven the Hunter, who, if we're being honest, is maybe not even in the top 10 of Spider-Man villains. At least, well, I can't even say the ones that they've made have been any better. Venom is iconic, but it's not like Morbius and Madam Web are these real killers out there for Spider-Man comic villains. So I don't even know if I can give Kraven that much credit. So Kraven the Hunter stars Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is an actor I was not a fan of for a very long time. Specifically, I did not like him in the MCU. I just thought his character was kind of the worst part of Age of Ultron, and it was a bit of a relief when he was, spoiler alert for a 10 plus year old movie, when he was killed off. But I've come around to him recently, mainly because of Tenet, and the kind of supporting roles that he has come into, specifically Tenet and the Fall Guy. He's a side character in the Fall Guy, and that stuff is very good. The stuff he's bad in is when he is more of a lead character, such as Age of Ultron, where he's playing a very serious role. Godzilla, he's fine in, and Nocturnal Animals, which I think is a disaster of a movie, and he's pretty bad in it, or at least uninteresting. And yet again, he's uninteresting in Kraven the Hunter, obviously. There's not a lot he can do with it, just to be honest. I don't hold too much weight, and I don't blame the actors for this. Aaron Taylor Johnson is kind of bad. The script is awful. I don't really think anyone can do anything with it, but he's pretty bad. Ariana DeBose is in this movie, and what the heck are we doing with Ariana DeBose? 3 years ago, this woman won an Academy Award for West Side Story, and she has been in nothing but bad movies. She's been in Argylle, terrible. She's been in ISS, that weird space movie that nobody saw. She was in one other project that was bad, and now she's in this, which is bad. Like, can we give her a decent movie? She's an incredible actress. And I don't even think she's actively bad in any of these movies, but why is she just in the biggest piles of poop when it comes to movies ever since West Side Story? Like, we got to talk to her agent. Her agent is doing something wrong, so wrong. It's almost laughable, because Ariana DeBose is a fantastic actress and deserves to be in good movies. I can't stand having to watch her. She plays Calypso in this, I guess. Spoiler alert. I don't get it. Her character is nothing. Her character is weird with her voodoo cards that don't make any sense. Her character really just is just there to do nothing. I don't know, to serve the plot a little bit. Russell Crowe's in this movie. He plays Kraven's dad. He's doing a very funny Russian accent. and he's having fun, and he at least has some presence in the movie. Where when he's on screen, I'm at least like engaged, and I want to see what Russell Crowe does in the movie. Spoiler alert: it's not that much. Just kind of sits and talks in meetings and in boardrooms and stuff. To yell at people more or less and just be Russian. It's very boring. Not great. I wouldn't recommend using Russell Crowe in that manner. The script is incomprehensible to a degree where I genuinely can't decide between the three movies I mentioned: Morbius, Madam Web, and now Kraven the Hunter. I'm honestly not sure which one's worst. I think I know which one's best, and best is best is putting it at a level. Madam Web is the best of the three because at least Dakota Johnson has screen presence. She's one of my favorite actresses. She probably is my favorite actress. At least Dakota Johnson is doing her thing, which is interesting and very off-putting and weird, but at least it's something. The Madam Web script might be the worst of the three, but at least it's so mind-blowing that like it's like a train wreck. You can't take your eyes off it, and you're like, what is happening? For Morbius and Kraven specifically, it is so easy to become checked out of those two movies. It's astonishing. It's really, really bad script. And the director, J.C. Chandor, is not a bad director. He directed Margin Call, which is a good movie, like a pretty good movie. But he directed that Netflix movie too, with Ben Affleck and Oscar Isaac, Triple Frontier. Like Triple Frontier is an awesome action movie. And then he goes and does this, and I wonder when it comes to these movies, like how much creative control do these, directors and cinematographers and DPs and actors and screenwriters, how much creativity are they allowed? Because you would think in the year 2024 that we are above and beyond scripts like these for bad superhero movies, or for superhero movies in general. Your script cannot be this bad when we have 20 plus years of evidence to go off of in terms of like, hey, this is going to be a bad movie and this script is terrible. It feels like it comes out of 2001. Like this script feels 23 years old, and it would be bad 23 years ago. And guess what? It's bad. It's bad then. It's bad now. Like it just hasn't done. There's no evolution in these Sony movies. They are just sticking to a formula that clearly failed 20 years ago, and it's failing now. Like it's painfully obvious that I just don't know who had faith in this, truly. And that brings me to the sad announcement that Sony is done with this weird Sony-verse Spider-Man universe thing, whatever. Like it's done. There's no more Spider-Man spin-off movies. Tom Holland never appeared in one. He really was never mentioned in one. Like it's just over. And there's no. I always assumed, and it was never publicly announced, but I always assumed that if they were doing these solo movies, the Morbius, the Madam Web, the Venom, the Kraven, they were trying to do a Sinister Six movie at some point. And I think part of the problem is that the MCU basically did the Sinister Six, or at least their version of it. Spider-Man No Way Home was basically the Sinister Six. I don't even know if there were 6 villains in that movie. There might have been 5 actually, but like the Sinister Six. Maybe I'll say it right one time. They are a group of villains that we already are familiar with, and they team up against Spider-Man. And that is essentially what happened more or less in No Way Home, which is a good movie, a very good movie. And I just assumed that eventually Sony was going to build up to this, and I'm kind of shocked that they're just killing it. Like, you already have Morbius, you have Kraven, you have Venom, you have Madam Web, who like isn't really a villain, but I guess you could make her. I don't know. You can do whatever you want. Like that's 4 right there. You're telling me you couldn't just like shit out 1 or 2 more bad movies to set up a Sinister Six? Basically, I'm very surprised. Or even like you could steal an old villain like a Jamie Foxx's Electro or something. I don't know. Just say like, yeah, you already know him. He's part of the Six now. I'm surprised that they gave up this early, and I'm also surprised that it took them this long to realize that this was a total failure. So Sony has surprised me on all accounts, and that's a bummer because I don't know, these characters in the comic books are pretty good. Kraven really only has like one good story arc with Spider-Man, so it was always very strange to me that they would choose like him and Morbius and even Madam Web to like make movies about, where not only do they not have like consistently great arcs in the comics, they also don't have name recognition outside of being like, most people know them as like, oh, they're Spider-Man villains, I think. Like, I don't know. I'm just surprised by it all. Every decision along the way has been mind-boggling, and this one is no different. The cancellation of the Sony Spider-Verse, it marks the end of an era, truly. It really does. Now with James Gunn's Superman coming out, and it seems like the MCU is trying to make a shift back to, you know, more theatrical releases and maybe less movies per year, and less just flooding the streaming world of content and such. It seems like the superhero movies are trying to learn some lessons here, and Sony's lesson that they learned is just like, we are done. Just more here, Feige, have Spider-Man and just give us money, please, because we don't know what we're doing. And I'm very happy that they've learned this lesson. I realize I haven't actually talked about Kraven that much, and I don't think I'm going to. Do you really care? I don't even remember. Oh, Rhino's the villain. That's who's the villain. I couldn't remember. Yeah, Rhino's in this movie. He's a bad CGI Rhino. He has like a thing that makes him not be Rhino sometimes, and he's just a regular human. He's played by an actor I'm not familiar with off the top of my head. Oh, the Chameleon's in this movie. The Chameleon is Kraven's brother. He like transforms at the end, and it's supposed to be a big deal. And we see the Rhino for like 3.5 minutes at the end. Like they keep teasing us that he's the Rhino, and then it finally happens, and then he gets killed. And we don't even get to see Kraven's big leather jacket with the fur until the end. Like, they do the same thing that Madam Web does, where Madam Web is just a normal human throughout the movie with like vague powers, and then she's like, she gets blind at the end, and she's like, hello, now I am Madam Web, and I am blind and in my wheelchair or whatever. And then the movie ends, and then they do the same thing with Kraven, where Kraven at the end is like, okay, well, now I will become the hunter, and here's my big jacket. And you waited all movie for me to put on my Kraven the Hunter jacket, I guess, even though like 8 people know about it. So here it is now, and it lands with a thud. This movie's not good. It's going to be out of theaters in like 2 weeks. I'm sure it's going to be on whatever streaming service picks it up, probably Netflix sooner rather than later, because nobody's seeing it. This thing debuted with less money than Madam Web, which is absolutely hilarious. Tough luck for Sony. Before I wrap this video up, I will say, Aaron Taylor Johnson, as of recording, I believe, is the odds-on favorite to become the next James Bond, which is... Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't want Aaron Taylor Johnson as my lead for any movies. Give me 20 minutes of him as a side guy in Tenet, just being charismatic and kind of knowing what's going on. I don't need him as the ripped lead where he's just on screen too much, because he doesn't have the charisma for it. He does not have the charisma of a leading man. He is much better served as like a side guy that pops for 7 minutes in a scene than he is for, you know, he can't carry 100 minutes on a movie screen. I don't think it works for him. At least we haven't seen it happen yet. I could be wrong. But don't pick him as the next James Bond, for the love of God. Please pick Dev Patel. I'm begging you to make Dev Patel the next James Bond. But that kind of seems unlikely at this point. And now I'm off on a James Bond tangent. Okay, well, that's Kraven the Hunter. I don't even know how much I talked about it. But whatever. This movie sucks. Go see something else, I beg of you. Okay, see you in the next review. Goodbye.